and welcome to another edition of Here's the Pitch. It's 2022. I thank you for joining me. I'm your YouTube friend, Brad. And again, it's always sponsored by Masses Restaurants in St. Louis, 5 locations, stlmasses.com. Go there to the website, check out their menus if you're driving through St. Louis. And my guest today is driving, so I hope that he stays safe. But I'm excited to start off the new year with a new guest, Jon Johnson over there. Who is Jon? Of course, he was Eric the actor's handler, your caregiver, right? You guys were. First of all, thank you for doing this. I appreciate it, and hopefully, again, stay safe. We don't want any accidents while this. But you're just driving along.
Yeah, I'm on a road with barely any cars.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. We tried to hook up for a long time, and I appreciate Jon for doing this here to start off the year. And I was just watching some videos and listening to some Eric. Some great stuff, and I just see a lot of people talking about him earlier this year. Just how did you guys get together? You went to high school with him. You knew him a long time ago, right? Tell me a little bit about how you guys met.
Met in junior high. I was in 7th and he was in 8th.
Were you always nice to him?
Oh yeah. Became one of his helpers in junior high, and we just became friends after that. And like in high school, his parents would go somewhere for the day or overnight, and I'd go help him. So I've been helping him pretty much since junior high.
Was he always sort of angry in junior high, even the way we knew him on the Stern Show?
No, nothing like the Stern Show.
So this was sort of, you said you started doing that in 8th grade. You're a caregiver. I know you're still doing that now. How did you decide that's something you wanted to do with your life?
I was running a drug and alcohol recovery program, and Eric's parents called me and asked me if I could help him. They when his dad retired, they asked if I could move in with them, and I was getting tired of doing the drug and alcohol recovery program, dealing with the craziness there. So I was like, yeah. So I've been pretty much doing caregiving before even him taking care of drug addicts. And then after that, then my parents needed my help, so came out and helped my parents.
Yeah, I mean, and that's I think you're like doing God's work. I told you, I think at one point here, my mom has been sick and she has passed, and I dedicate this one to my mom. This is my first podcast since her passing over Christmas, but I did a lot of helping of her, and not clearly what you were doing probably. So I think it's amazing what you did. How's your parents? I know you've had to do some caregiving with your parents lately.
My dad's getting better. They're in the car with me. He's getting better. The treatments they're giving him seems like it's helping him get rid of the pre-leukemia. Then my mom just suffers with dementia, but she ain't too far in it. And then people think you get paid good doing something like this. The state pays me 2 hours a day to take care of my parents full time. That ain't nothing.
No, like I said, I only took care.
Air in California was like 4 hours a day. People thought I paid for I can't even think salary. Like a salary. They got paid 4 hours a day. For
Eric, you did?
And then, 4 hours. California paid 4 hours a day, even though it was a 24/7 job. So, yeah, and then so his parents asked me to move in with them, and they first put us in an apartment, and then the apartment was way overpriced. It was like almost $2,000 a month for the apartment. So then they put us in a house, and that's the house that all the stories came from. Sorry, I drove by an officer, and that's where like there was that nurse practitioner that would like stalk us always, and she was sending people to the house looking for the SABEAN and all that type of stuff.
So that was in California, right? When he started calling.
Yeah, he started calling when he was still in Rodale, which is the town he grew up in. He was not born there. It took me a long time to get finally the Wikipedia to change to San Pablo. He was born in a town close to Rodale, but he wasn't born in Rodale. And always had him born in Rodale. So he got out of high school, and in 2005, he got out of high school in '94. 2005 is when his dad retired, and they decided to move up to the mountains. And in 2006 is when I moved in with him. We got the house a year later, and like I said, that's where like the whole gay porn thing that they sent to the house and all that all happened at the house.
So you knew by then he was a superstar on the Stern Show. Were you listening to him do his calls, what did you think of when you heard him making these phone calls to Howard?
I was there. Actually at his house in Rodale the first time he called, and I listened to every once in a while afterwards, but most of the time I didn't listen too much. I was doing the stuff I was doing, but then once I moved in with them, I didn't really listen to the show. I didn't get up early like him to listen to the show. Usually I would catch a replay or just read it on, is it Mark Freegan? Read it on there. Or I would know something that happened during the show because he would wake up all pissed off at the world.
So he was always like, I mean, that was his that wasn't a character. I mean, was he always just seemingly angry?
It was a character, but then he would keep it on with the fans because the fans would just rag on him after when he wake up that day after the show, because he'd wake up like 3 o'clock in the morning to call the show, then he would go back to sleep, and then wake up and there's some people like what was that guy's name? I want to say Elmo, but that ain't right. Gonzo. People like Gonzo would just rag on him all day long.
So. Yeah, I mean, this just became really part of his life. So it's interesting to me because he'd call in and he was always so angry, but he would wait on hold, and then he'd get mad because he was waiting on hold. He's just the most interesting. And I even love that Howard. I watched one of these clips, and Howard's like, "You're the best guest." I think a couple months ago he even said, "I'm not calling him a wackpacker. He's the best guest we ever had," and I think it's kind of a nice tribute.
Yeah, Howard considers them the best wackpacker, and most fans do. There's some fans that say Hank was the best, but most fans consider Eric the best. Because Eric was the one that would fight back the most. He wouldn't take no shit.
Beetlejuice is in there too, I think, in that running of Mount Rushmores of greatest.
Yeah, Beetlejuice is just more popular because he's a train wreck.
Eric was club fucking footed. Blotchy face, he had the gnarled fingers. I mean, he had a lot going on. So it seemingly he lived for the show. Is that what you felt like? Is that he really, as much as he got angry at it, he loved it.
Yeah. And when he was a kid, he always told his parents he was going to become a celebrity somehow. So he ended up doing what he said.
Did he always want to be an actor? I mean, that always seemed like a joke, but.
He always wanted to be into music or acting. He would have probably became a police officer if he could have, because of his dad. But of course he couldn't do that. But he always had support for police officers, but he knew he couldn't do that, so he always wanted to be some type of entertainment.
And what would that? But he really thought he could act, though, right? I mean, that's what's hilarious about him. And he did. He actually got in some stuff. So I guess we're all out. He laughs was on with Eric.
Yeah, and then like earlier you talk about like him calling in the show and being angry because he's on hold. He would also have the person that would egg him on during when he was on hold. Johnny would be on hold with him, or Johnny would be on another phone with Eric, and egg on Eric and get Eric all irritated more for when he got on the show that it'd be more interesting.
How did Johnny Ferrato become his man? I guess it became his manager, right? And how often did you see him around? And were you okay with kind of? I mean, you were the caregiver, so it was really only about health for you. But did you like that situation? Johnny
was cool. He helped Eric somewhat, but Johnny was at the same time a stressful point because Johnny was so flaky, I guess you could say, and Eric, if he was supposed to call us about something, he wouldn't call like for 3 or 4 days, And then Eric tried to get a hold of him about something he went. So he was a lot of stress on us, like especially the time we were going to Canada, and he wanted us to do the passports just on the internet and give some internet site our social security cards, our IDs, and everything. And me and Eric weren't comfortable with that. And then Johnny accused me of being jealous and stuff. And that's when I left that message. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, that message where I go off on him. But for the most part, he was cool most of the time. We always talked to him on the phone, video chat or something, because I don't know if you remember, one of his business partners got us all Sprint Evos, and we had them for a while. So, and that was supposed to be for JFSC and all that. So we stay in contact with him a lot. We went out there maybe 6 times, 6 to 8 times maybe. One of the times was for that fake chick, Kendra.
That didn't work out, did it?
No, that was one of the shady things that Johnny did, because he knew what was going on from the start, and that was a big setup.
Yeah, it sucks because you get people that,
Publicity, I guess.
yeah. Well, I had Bobby Rooney, who was Beatles manager, on, and it felt like Bobby really had his best intentions in. Sometimes Johnny wondered. But did you make a trip to the show? He went obviously and met Diana DeGarmo in 2008. Maybe a great moment for him. Did you get to be there for that?
Yeah, that was one that really pissed off Howard. So I went, of course, I had to go, but that dude that worked for the ranches, can't even think of his name now. The one in the studio with Eric, met Eric, and I wasn't there. And afterwards, Howard comes out and he walked by me. He's like, "Wait a minute, you were here?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I got liked, so I would have had you in the studio, not that other dude."
What was that like, just being around him for that? I mean, Eric had to be like, that had to be the highlight of his life, right?
Yeah. Howard was really cool in person. He sat there and talked to Eric, I'd say a good hour after the show. Just sat next to Eric and talked to him.
I know a lot of people want to rip on Howard for kind of like maybe sort of exploiting these guys, but he did a lot for Eric, right? I mean, in the end, yeah. He made Eric's life, even though Eric would yell at him and make him his idol. He'd be on the phone with him telling him he's an asshole, but it's still funny.
Yeah, and even like at the America's Got Talent, when we went to see him in San Francisco, and we were backstage with Howard and all them. Howard said to Eric, you know all the stuff that I say to you and everything for a show that I really respect you. And Eric said, yeah. The only one of Eric, there's 2 that Eric thought that really didn't like him or had issues with him. He thought Gary didn't really like him, and Fred, he thought had issues with him.
What about Artie? How did he enjoy Artie? Just kind of giving him so much shit.
Oh, yeah, he liked to argue with Artie.
So, as I think about this, was Eric putting us all on? Was he had his own character, and we as fans didn't understand that he had his own character he was working on?
Till later on, yeah. Most fans started figuring out towards the end, but at first, yeah, he had everybody believing that's how he really was. Because like the first live comedy shows we would do, people would be afraid to come up to Eric and talk to him, and would like try to run up behind me and ask me, "Will Eric talk to me?" I'm like, "Yeah, he liked the show." And if you talk to anybody that met him at the shows, they'll say the same thing.
Was he angry about the 0.0 audio clip that was played probably 1 million times by Fred?
He was annoyed by that, yeah. The biggest thing that would annoy him was that sound, the or whatever. Ack. Sound, and the balloon thing. He never planned on doing the balloon thing, and he knew his doctors wouldn't allow him, but he kept on letting it go on with it. But then it just never ended the fans, so the fans would pick on him about it, so he'd get irritated as hell. Especially after there was some dude in Canada, I think it was, that flew on like a lounge chair.
I don't remember that, but I don't remember that, but I was going to ask you about flying with balloons. We never got to see that, did we?
Yeah, it never would have happened. Howard knew that too, but it was good for the show, so it just kept on going. And then the other one that Eric knew right away when he seen the guy, when he was in the studio, the guy that was measuring Eric for the real doll, he knew that guy was an actor because he was in something else for Howard TV. And Eric's like, I know that's an actor. No, it ain't an actor. And because we seen him, the guy was in the green room with us, and Shuli and all them were trying to tell him no, it was a serious guy. And Eric's like, yeah, bullshit.
I love it. The more I think about it, it's like when I had the chat with Bobby Rooney, I realized Beetle is. He knows what's going on, and he knows he's part of the act. And the Eric thing, it's funny. How many trips did you guys make for the show? I'm trying to remember. I know you went in once. There was a Bunny Ranch trip, right? And then was there other fun trips like the Bunny Ranch, or am I thinking?
Bunny Ranch 3 times? I think it was 2. The Bunny Ranch, 2 times. Bunny Ranch 2 times, but then he started having too much health problems and wasn't healthy for him to go up there. And then I didn't go to his dad took him to the one in the American Idol show in LA. And then we just did a bunch of the comedy shows, the Artie comedy show and the Ronnie Munn comedy show and all them. We did win a bunch of them. We went anywhere from Sacramento area to the Valley of California down to LA, San Diego. But for actually being in the show, he only did one of them. Then he was doing, I forget which, he was doing a show for a while with one of the producers, and they sent him one of them things like that Robin and all them used to call into the show. That like strong internet phone line thing. I can't remember what they call it.
ISDN.
We had that, and I had to set that up always every week for Eric to do a show with Shuli. I think it was with Shuli and one of the producers.
So how often were you see him every day, right? When you're caregiving for him, and just tell me a little bit about how that was for you. Right. How often would you see him? I mean, how many hours a day? Was it daily? Was it?
After I started taking care of him. After I started taking care of him and living in Sacramento with him, I was there every day except for holidays. I'd go hang out with my parents during the holidays, and then his parents would come every once in a while, and they would stay at the house. So I'd go and get a couple hours away, but for the most part, I was there 24/7 from 2006 to 2014.
That's crazy. And he was nice to you.
Yep. Every once in a while, he'd get a little bit of attitude, but nothing, not too often. It was more him getting irritated with the fans and then being cranky because the fans messing with them. That and Johnny irritating him.
Yeah. Well, I looked at it. I looked at his Twitter, which is still out there, obviously, which is kind of funny, and it's all in caps, and he's yelling at fans, and it's just, it's so hilarious to me that he was pretty much to the end kind of the same guy.
Yeah, if he was on Twitter nowadays, he would probably got kicked off a long time ago because they would consider it bullying and all that type of stuff. Said to Artie, I think, one time, and his post got removed from Facebook, and he was for bullying and all this stuff. So Eric would have probably got in trouble for bullying always.
It's funny, right? Yeah, the guy in the wheelchair is the bully. It's pretty hilarious. The 3'5".
Oh, he did Twitch and Cameo if it was around when he was.
So he died at.
You think about it, he was already.
Yeah. Well, he died at 39. He died at 39 years old. I think you had just kind of stopped caregiving for him, right? Tell me a little bit about the end there, because we weren't thinking this was. I mean.
Yeah, it was actually the day before I was leaving. His parents were already heading down the next day, or 2 days before I was going to leave. His parents were coming down the next day, and he was getting really sick. And I was like, "Man, you need to go to the doctor." And then I called his brother, which his brother is a paramedic, and he's like, "Yeah, take him to the hospital. I'll call my parents." And his dad rushed all the way from up in the mountains and got there, and he passed soon after his dad got to the hospital.
What was it like for you, and as you think back on it, just the fact that maybe, you probably assume this guy's going to live a long life, right? Because he's just doing his thing, and it didn't seem to have really any health problems.
And besides his breathing and heart problems, it wasn't getting any worse. But for some reason, I don't know what happened. His kidneys had started shutting down. That morning when I seen him, he was really jaundiced. And so then when we got him to the hospital, all of his organs started shutting down. Probably about just after the second time of going to the ranch, and that was the thing that a lot of people thought that him going to the ranch did it.
But that's not true.
Yeah, but I think it was just his heart was getting worn out because he wasn't supposed to live past his teenage life, and all of his stuff was already a little bit weaker than normal. So, and then, like you were saying earlier about his hands and everything, that's all part of the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It makes the bones it has a lot of the traits of brittle bone disease. That's what a lot of people thought he had.
I saw that you could make donations back when he passed. Is it still? Are you still taking donations for him in his name?
You could still send a donation in his name to Shriners Hospital. Actually, for my birthday yesterday, I was doing a fundraiser for Shriners on Facebook. As far as I know, till now, they haven't had anybody ever give as much donations to them in anybody else's name. Eric is the highest honored donation.
That's great, yeah. What did Eric's parents think of all of the success and fame that he was getting? Did they enjoy it, or did they think it was, what do they think?
At first, of course, they weren't completely happy with the way Eric was. They felt the thing where Howard Stern exploited Eric and stuff, but then they started seeing how much it did for Eric, and they kind of said, well, if Eric doesn't have it, then we don't have a problem with it.
Does he have siblings? Does he have a brother or sister?
Eric has one brother, younger than him, that's a firefighter.
Okay, so normal size, normal everything. How did he enjoy this?
Yeah.
This stardom.
He didn't tell anybody that he was going to the ranch the first time. His parents were on a cruise in England, and he didn't tell his brother. And his brother didn't find out till all the people came to the fire station and told him, "Hey, your brother's up at the ranches." And so he called Eric. You know what that's going to do to mom and dad? They were too happy about the first time.
Why did he love American Idol so much and Kelly Clarkson? What was the deal?
I think that was because he liked music so much, and before American Idol, he was a fan of Star Search, and that's one of the things he actually wanted to get on when he was younger. He wanted to get on Star Search as a singer. So I think he just kind of felt he really liked how you could vote for people and have control of the show. And then he hated when somebody then he started hating with somebody like Sanji or whatever his name was.
Sanjaya.
To keep them in the show because it was just a train wreck.
I think Howard did that on purpose to ruin Eric's enjoyment of the show. Sanjaya was winning every week.
Yeah, because it made good show. Eric getting pissed off about it. There wasn't too many guys that he was fans with on the American Idol. It was usually girls.
No, his love of the
Of course, a few of them he had crushes on.
That's funny. Though, of course, we can understand his love of the WWE. He would have been a perfect heel manager. But that was pretty cool that Howard made sure anytime they had a Stone Cold Kurt Angle, he'd be able to get Eric on the phone with him, and he'd get those questions in. And he was so serious about wanting to ask those guys questions. He really loved it.
Oh yeah, just like I've always wondered, because he liked Donald Trump before he became president, but Eric was Democrat. Been for Donald Trump once he became president, but he always wanted to talk to Donald too on the show. He always had questions for him. And then afterwards, he became kind of part of the company that Kurt Angle was wrestling with when they all went to the show. Eric started working with them and doing a video podcast with him and a couple of the wrestlers, and he had a feud going on with Robert Roode, a wrestler called Robert Roode, and they would talk crap to each other.
I mean, you're right, though. And
then Eric was.
Well, he's like a Jimi Hendrix or a Jim Morrison or Janis Joplin. He died young. There's so much more he had to give. It's kind of sad now that we talk about it, because I would love to hear his thoughts on all of this. You're right. It'd be interesting to hear his thoughts on the insurrection.
Yeah, I think all the stuff that's happened and the COVID and all that stuff, it would have been hard for him because he already had breathing issues, didn't have to wear a mask. Like my dad had breathing issues, and it makes it hard for him to wear a mask. And then all the other stuff, political and cancel culture and all that stuff.
Maybe he got out at the right time. Maybe he won again. Maybe he won life again.
and then, like I said, I think he would have did great with Twitch, and he did Cameo before Cameo. I don't know if you remember when he was doing the phone calls and the pictures. Then they got mad because he was using one from the studio.
He was great. It's funny. This was fun to kind of just walk down memory lane, because it does give you this feeling of him. Jan, I don't have any other questions. Do you have anything else you wanted to add about Eric before we say goodbye and let people know anything?
Not that I can think of. Pretty much most of the stuff you heard on the show was bits that him, me, and Johnny came up with. I'd help him sometimes, but usually it was him and Johnny. And Howard, 90% of the time, was not in on it. And till later on, Howard didn't realize that most of it was a bit. And Howard started realizing that when Eric came into the studio and seen how Eric really was.
You guys were producers.
So that, yeah, and that's why Howard had a lot of respect for Eric, because Eric didn't just cave in and do whatever people wanted him to do. He would fight. Well,
he brought us a lot of fun, and I appreciate you kind of sharing some stories. I know a lot of people will want to hear your thoughts. People love hearing about these characters from the show, and you were there with him all those years, so I thank you. And sorry he's gone, but again, great memories, and there's lots of video and lots of audio to watch, so we can always have him in spirit.
And at some point, after hopefully in the next couple months, my dad's leukemia will start getting better, where I don't have to constantly be at the hospital and stuff like that. At some point, on probably the Facebook group for Eric the Actor fans, people have been asking me to do a Q&A or ask me anything, so I'll probably be doing that. So when I do that, I'll let you know, or you can let people know that I'm going to be doing it too. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, you have a huge following over there. Good luck to you. Good luck to your parents. I know it's tough. Again, I just went through it, but sounds like everybody's kind of on the mend, and you're obviously, like I said, doing God's work. So I appreciate you coming on here. We'll post this in Eric the Actors Forum. I'm just going to wrap up by saying to the folks at home, bye for now.
Bye for now.